it's Lindsay from My Crafty Plans. Welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, welcome. I am so excited. This has been so requested, and I am really excited to share it with you. So in case you don't recognize this planner, this is my Laurel Denise Undated Portrait Planner. I have just been obsessed with this thing. I ended up using this as my main weekly planner in April, and it's very much reignited my love for weekly planning. I found it extremely functional, and I cannot wait to dive into this. So if you don't know, the way that this Laurel Denise planner works is that you get the monthly space right here at the top, and then at the bottom you've got all of your dashboard, listing, and weekly space. So you've got habit trackers, some split listing pieces right here, some blank doc grid places, and then these are actually the weekly spread. So it is a vertical, week on 2 pages, aligned vertical, but it's only like a little half size of the page, and it's just enough space for me to do a little bit of functional planning, a little bit of decoration, stickers, washi, stencils, lots of stencils in here. And I have just been absolutely loving this. It's just been working so well for me. So continuing on in May and sharing the full setup with you. So in this video, I will be doing the May monthly setup and also planning for the first week in May as well. So you will get to see the kind of full space in this planner in action. We'll get all the dashboard spaces set up, everything however I want it. And one other thing that I'm really loving about this planner that I did in April that I will be repeating in May is actually using one set of stickers, washi, and pens and markers for the whole month. That way I still get like that creative flair. I'm getting to change what stickers I'm using, but I don't have to like sit down every week and pull out new markers, new washis, which honestly it's a process that takes me a really long time, because I definitely overthink it and test like 100 different markers on washi every single week. But so this way I have it all out. I can leave it on my planner cart for the whole month. And then when I'm ready to get planning, when I have a lot of time, I can set things up. And when I don't have a lot of time, I still have everything I need handy, and I'm just really excited to keep going. So for this month, I'm gonna be using this kit as the base of all of my spreads. So the month, the week, this is gonna be the colorway. More of the stickers will go in the weekly part than in the monthly part, but this was like the theme. I actually asked you all here and over on Instagram to vote on which kit that I would use. I pulled out 3 different kits from my very large sticker kit collection that I am trying to use up this year. If you don't know, I've been trying to not buy any more stickers. I still have been buying washi and pens, but I'm trying not to buy any stickers, and I'm trying to use up the stickers that I have because I have like a whole cabinet of stickers, including probably at least 50 sticker kits that I haven't used. Honestly, maybe even more than that, and I would love to use more of these. So I haven't been buying any, and I've just been using them. This one is from JK Creates Co. And I just love this. It's really pretty. It's perfect vibes for May. It's such a pretty color palette, like very soft orange, peach, yellow, pink, very beautiful. I, of course, have a lot of Simply Gilded washi pulled out for this, including some florals, some plaids, and 2 different butterfly washis that we can play around with. So we're gonna have some fun, make it really cute. I also have a lot of florals for this kit, so we have lots of extra deco. I pulled out a bunch of markers, pens and markers for this, including some of the new Zebra Mild Liners. I have a couple of colors, or at least, yeah, I have 2 colors from the new set of Zebra Mild Liners. If you haven't seen this yet, check out my recent haul, or I will have a reel up on Instagram, and I'll put up a short here on YouTube as well of the new Zebra Mild Liner colors. I'm super excited for that. So it's fun to use something new. So we're gonna dive in. This is gonna be sped up with a voiceover. I'm gonna set up my monthly calendar, all of like the kind of general monthly spaces, like the habit trackers and all of that. And then we will dive into weekly planning. I am going to get started with the decorative base for the monthly calendar. This setup is gonna be very similar to my April setup, but also to every other monthly calendar that I've used, regardless of what planner I've been in for kind of like the past, I don't know, more than 7 years. This is just my monthly calendar. It's color-coded. It works for me. I realized that this video is coming out at the end of May, and this was a May setup video, but I did actually record this at the beginning of May and actually at the end of April as well. This portion of the video I recorded on April 28th. I kind of got the monthly stuff set up, and then the weekly stuff started that week. So I kind of recorded throughout the whole week because I do plan as I go style on the weekly spread, and I will let you know kind of which day it is as we go along. But I did set all of this stuff up at the beginning of the month, and I have been using it all month long. Absolutely loving it all month long. Still struggling a little bit with the editing and processing, especially for YouTube videos. So you get to see it now at the end of the month. And I'm recording this voiceover before I sit down to do my June goals and my June setup, which are also going to be, well, my goals will be in my Moxie Life, but my June setup is going to be in this planner as well. And I can't wait to use some brand new Simply Gilded washies. Either way, you get to see some fun sticker planning that is super functional as well. And now at this point, I've had 2 solid months and I feel like I have a really good flow going with this planner. But if you have any questions about my planning style or anything you want me to kind of address or talk about in my next setup, because I will film this again for June, just let me know in the comments and I will be happy to answer those questions in the June video. I absolutely love being able to see the monthly calendar and like the dashboard space and weekly spreads at the same time. It's so helpful. And I have been flipping back and forth a lot to the dashboard space and the weekly spreads because I've actually been doing a pretty good job keeping up with my habit tracker lately, which I was not using at all in any planner for a really long time, like last year even, as well as at the beginning of this year. But something about the monthly habit tracker, it's just working a lot better for me. And I've really been enjoying that. I also like that certain things like that, you can just set it up once for the month and then just kind of fill it out. I found that really helpful. I am still struggling a little bit more with some of the listing spaces in here, but I do think I improved that for May over April, and then we'll keep going with that in June and see kind of what else shakes out. And then I've brought back a little bit of the memory keeping and journaling right into this planner. So there's really space in this for everything, even though you have those smaller weekly spreads. For me right now, that's just been perfect because as I've mentioned a bunch of times, I am really into digital planning this year. And I don't mean like digital planning, writing out things on the iPad. I mean like super aggressive with my Google Calendar and then also with my Notion dashboard. And that has been so functional for me and just like way easier to kind of use for the little day-to-day to-dos. And I haven't really been using my planner for that. I've been using my planner more to set goals, to keep the big picture for the whole month and for big weekly pictures and things like that, and just to get a basic overview of the week rather than to like assign myself every little to-dos and account for every minute of my time. The other huge benefit I have with this planner right now is that I only do 1 set of markers, stickers, and washi for the whole month, which I mentioned at the beginning of this video, but that's just been like tremendously helpful to help me stick with the planner because I do spend a lot of time like color matching things and picking out markers and kind of like trying to curate the perfect little planner spread, colorway setup, etc. So now it's just doing it once a month. It's something I really enjoy, but it is really time consuming and I don't always have time to do it every week. And then I'll just not plan instead of like doing something quick. But now it's done. I can choose a day where I have the time to actually do that for the monthly setup, and then it's just taken care of for the whole month. This is actually reflective of one of my biggest like planner tips and one of the things that I've done for a really long time. And that is like just to create that base spread. I used to be a big bullet journaler, so that's kind of like a bullet journal thing where when you have the time to devote to it, when you have like a few hours and you want to kind of zone out and play around, put on some music or a podcast or an audiobook and sit there with your planner and like play in your journal or play in your planner. You get all of that stuff set up and then kind of leave it blank. And that way, when you are rushed and you need the functional space, you can kind of just go back in and fill it out. And I even do that on some of the weekly stuff. You'll see I'll leave like blank boxes already stenciled in or colored. And then later on, I'll go back and fill them out. So while I was setting my color coding key for my monthly calendar, which has the same 6 categories that I always use: work, appointments, kids, finances, house, and other, I also went ahead and colored and set up my habit tracker for the month. I mostly just copied those over from April, but my habits for the month were: did I do something productive that day? Kids routines, daily clean, my PM routine, which is like all of my skincare and dental stuff and wind down and all of that, and then bedtime at 10 p.m. I like to keep that separate because I feel like it is a separate thing. Sometimes I will get into bed and then just read and not go to bed. And I have been trying so hard this year and doing a great job at it, I might say, at actually like going to bed at 10 instead of just like reading for a while in bed and going to sleep way too late. So because I didn't use the dashboard space at the bottom there a ton in April, I decided to mix it up for May and like kind of just brainstorm new ideas. And the first one that I had was actually a tracker for my exercise classes. One of my big goals for May / this quarter is actually to use up a bunch of the ClassPass credits that I have that have been like accumulating from when I was sick and then hurt. So I have like a lot of extra credits, and I'm actually at the point now where I'm not losing any credits each month, but I still have a little bit of a bank that I'm trying to work off. So I thought it would be helpful to have like a little tracker. And then I also thought that I could track the different types of classes that I go to. I mostly just go to spin classes, but I sometimes go to yoga and sometimes Pilates, but I just decided to leave that as other in case I find any other places that I want to go. So I just created a little color-coded tracker there. I definitely liked having this, and I will be doing it again next month. Unfortunately, I got really sick this month, so I didn't end up getting to go to quite as many classes as I wanted to, but I still used the tracker for when I did go to them. Then I just finished up by putting the last of like the color, stickers, washi on the blank spaces. So most of this will get used for the journaling spaces, except for the split listing on that first page with the habit tracker. So that's kind of like my functional planning space. And then the rest is journaling. I wasn't 100% sure at the beginning of the month that that's what I was going to do, but now at the end of the month, I have used every bit of it except for that one piece with the 2 washis, which I will do at the end of the month. I still have a few days left in May, and you will get to see all of these spreads fully completed in my June setup video for sure. Then finally, I started filling out my monthly calendar. I find this so functional. This is actually the only like area of duplication that's left in my planner system. So I use Google Calendar and I have that color coded as well. And in real time, as like more things come up, as I get emails from school or we make plans or whatever happens, I add that into my Google Calendar kind of as I go along and color code it along the way. Then when I'm doing my planner setup, what I do is I go through my Google Calendar and I copy that into my physical planner. I'm not usually a fan of duplication, but I find this really helpful because one, it gives me like a very good overview of everything that's coming up over the next month, including like work projects that I'm working on, like vacation, kids events we have, school events we have, whatever it is. I've got like a very good clear picture of what's going on. It also helps me catch like scheduling conflicts or potential issues in my schedule or things that are mistakes where I'm like, I don't think that sounds right. Let me go check. Like, for example, this month we had a random Tuesday off and it took me so long to figure out what it was for. And then it turned out that it was for like a local election day. But I was like, there's no way that that's right. We don't just have a random Tuesday in May off. But it turns out that it was. So just making sure that I'm aware of what's going on. And I find that really, really helpful to like kind of spend that time sitting and copying it down. I do add to this calendar throughout the month. And I check it kind of every time I check in with my planner. I'm just always glancing at it. So I do find it really helpful to have here as well as in Google, which I'm obviously looking at multiple times a day. And I did, as you probably noticed, make a mistake where I put Memorial Day on the wrong day. I got confused with that Tuesday being off, and I was like, well, that must have just been Monday, and it must have been Memorial Day. And then eventually, when I flipped to the other side, like right now, I'm going to realize that I made a mistake because I started putting in our plans for Memorial Day weekend, which we had a very busy weekend, and then I realized that I had marked things wrong. So then I took a little break to do some investigations on my email / on my Google Calendar to make sure that I had like the full schedule correct, and then I'll come back and work on the calendar again and finish getting that set up. Of course, in video time, that all happens very smoothly, but in actuality, I did just like have to spend 20 minutes figuring out my schedule before I could finish up the planner spread. Of course, that's kind of the whole point of this, right? I caught the mistake now. I caught like the weirdness in my Google Calendar now, and that way I don't have to miss something. That way in real time, I'm not missing something important, or in this case, like not realizing that there was an extra day off this month that I needed to like account for in my kids' schedules and also in my work schedule. So better to know these things in advance to kind of spend the time setting them up in my planner and making sure everything is correct on the digital side so that when my phone goes, hey, you don't have school today, I'm like, oh yeah, that's correct, rather than being like, no, that's not right, let me ignore it. Or even worse, not having it in my Google Calendar at all. And then having the kids like waiting by the bus stop for a bus that's not coming. Just finishing out with the last of the calendar now. And if you see a ton of yellow So that's my kids' color. We're at the end of the school year. June is going to look exactly the same. Then things will calm down. But yeah, May and June are always like crazy busy, especially with kids stuff. My kids don't get out of school until kind of like mid-late June. It's actually super late this year, but there's just so much stuff at the end of the year. Now I'm ready to get started with the weekly setup, and it is still, when I was recording, Monday, April 28th at this point, so it was still Monday. Monday is my usual weekly setup day. Monday is also my busiest work day. Basically what I do is I do a little bit of work in the morning and get like all of the essential stuff that I need to get over to my editor done. And then I sit down with my planner and I plan out the rest of my week. That's been working really well for me this year. In an ideal world, I would love to have it set Sunday, but like Sunday's just busy around the house and also family time. So it just is I'm almost never have time to plan on Sunday. So Monday morning or Monday late morning works really well for me at this point. I think that's also another really good planner tip if you are struggling to like actually use your planner or return to your spreads, is to just do it when it works for you, not like when you feel like you should be doing it. Like I feel like I should have my spread set up on Sunday so that I can dive into the week, but that just doesn't work for my life. So I'm going to do it when I can, which is on Monday. At this point though, since I had spent all of that time doing the monthly calendar, including like all of the time I wasn't filming and I was investigating calendar discrepancies, I was very burnt out on planning and I didn't really feel like doing that much. So I just laid down the very, very basics of the spread and just planned Monday, and then decided to save everything else for Tuesday when I was feeling a little bit more refreshed. So I just did some washi across the top along with some date stickers, and then I laid the base of my sidebar, but I didn't even fill most of that out. I decided to wait because I just couldn't even think of anything. And then I just wrote in all of the stuff for my Monday, about half of which had kind of like happened at that point. And then I just left everything on my desk and came back the next day. And that is my next planner tip for using your planner. It's okay to take more than one sitting to complete a spread. Multiple sittings works. Plan as I go is fantastic. You don't have to do everything all at once. You can leave it open and come back to it, or close it and come back to it if that works better for you. I always leave my planner open on my desk though, which actually that's a great bonus tip. If you have the space for it, leaving your planner open is like great, because then you see it when you sit down, you see it, put it somewhere where you can actually see it and access it, because you're more likely to use it again and remember that it's there if it's open and ready. So now it is Tuesday and I am back, and what I did is I just filled out the things that I had left blank on Monday for like kind of some plans at the end of the day. So that's a little bit of back planning, and again I like to leave those like empty spaces where I can. It doesn't always work out, and then I would just stencil it in, but in general these weekly spreads come together pretty quickly because it is like the kind of half spread space, and I really have been loving like the mix of stencils with color and just a little bit of stickers mixed into the week. So at this point I did set up all of Tuesday since I knew what I was going to be doing that day, and then I also did what I usually would have done on Monday, which is lay out any things that I know are coming up through the week. So like anything that I've got scheduled from my calendar, any exercise classes that I'm signed up for, any like projects or deadlines or to-dos that I know I want to do on a specific day, I'll go ahead and put that in at the beginning of the week, and then work around those spaces as I fill out more throughout the week. I do tend to come back to the planner, maybe not every day, but at least like every other day, and then I don't usually touch it over the weekend, and then I'll come back on the Monday morning when I'm going to set up my next week's spread, and I'll like fill out anything that's left over from the weekend. So my weekly overview tends to be mostly forward looking with just like a tiny bit of back planning, mostly just filling in a couple of things, especially around the weekend. I actually had a pretty busy week this week, and I knew like a lot of things in advance, so I put down a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of times where on Monday where I'm planning where it's just like a few things go down, and most of those are like regular weekly things, but I had like a lot going on this week. I had some like work stuff going on, a meeting, I had like a doctor's appointment, I was getting lunch with a friend one day, so there was just like a bunch of random stuff going on throughout the week. I also did my monthly calendar and monthly setup first this month instead of my goals. Usually I do that the other way around, just the timing. I wanted my calendar set up to work on my weekly spread right for Monday. So I just swapped the order, but I was planning on working on my goals this week as well, but then I ended up getting sidetracked by a last minute work project that came up. I did eventually get my goals done as well, and that video was actually the last video that I posted on YouTube. Before I forget, so if you are also planning with the Laurel Denise Undated Portrait Planner, there was like a little printing error, not in all of them, but in some of them, where some of the weeks or some of the months only have 4 weeks instead of 5. And I didn't realize that at the time. If you did get that, she'll mail you like free inserts to add into your planner if you need them, or it probably just came with your order, because that I think was the intention. But anyway, I totally forgot about that, and I counted out the number of weeks that were in May so many times to make sure that I had enough space to plan for the full month of May, like starting with the April-May straddle week. And then I didn't realize that this was one of the months that only had 4 weeks in there, and I actually needed 5. It's totally fine, because it's actually, while I'm recording this voiceover, it's Wednesday afternoon, and I haven't set up my planner for the week because we were gone on Monday, because we're just coming out of Memorial Day weekend, and so I just decided to skip this week. But just something to be aware of if you're planning in there, because there are months in there with 5, and like last month in April, I only used 4 weeks, and I actually glued 2 pages together, and then it turned out that I needed them this month, but it's totally fine. I could, of course, plan for this week in the next month, since this is the straddle week, although this week ends on a Saturday, the month ends on a Saturday, but I just was even debating not doing a planner spread anyways, because again, today was the first day that I had time to get to it, because I was like really busy catching up on a bunch of like work stuff and house stuff on Tuesday, since we were away over the weekend. And I must have forgotten to do laundry at some point last week, because I had so many loads of laundry to do when I got home. But anyway, I'm all caught up now, and this is the first time that I've had like a chance to just sit down and chill out and figure things out. And I've decided to just work on my June goals and June monthly instead. But if you are planning with this planner, the undated one only, just make sure you count the number of weeks that are in each month before you commit to, what spreads are going to go where. Now it is Thursday, May 1st, so I didn't come back to my planner on Wednesday. I ended up picking up a last-minute writing assignment for my freelance business that was like very time sensitive, so I pretty much just spent the whole day writing on Wednesday. If you don't know, I have a freelance consulting business, nothing related to like anything planner or anything like that. It's left over from my career before I had kids, although it's actually, my business has grown so much, so at this point it's a full-on career, and I'm not planning to like go back to work full-time or anything like that, just continue to live and grow my business. So I worked on that instead of my goals on Wednesday, and then Thursday I already had like a very busy day, and most of it was already planned out. So I just added in a few more things for Thursday, and then went ahead and planned out my whole Friday as well, since I didn't have like any daytime plans on Friday. I was kind of moving things that I had done on Wednesday, that I was supposed to take care of on Wednesday or earlier in the week, that I had put aside over to Friday. So at this point on Thursday, I felt like I had a pretty good idea of what I was going to be working on Friday. I also added a few more things to my weekly to-do list, and then I went ahead and flipped back over to my dashboard page at the beginning. I had gotten like a bunch of emails from camp about different supplies, and had been talking to my daughter about some things that she wanted to take to camp with her this summer. So I just decided to make like a summer stuff list, which is mostly like a shopping list for things for my daughter for overnight camp, with a few other random things thrown in there as well. Shopping and packing for overnight camp is like pretty much an Olympic sport. It's a very intense process, but she is so excited. This is going to be her second summer, and I feel like I have a much better handle on like what to buy and what to pack this year compared to last year, which was our first summer. I do have a few things for my little ones on that list as well. They just go to day camp for the summer, but I still like to stock up on like sunscreen and label all their clothes and all that kind of stuff as well. And they will eventually go to overnight camp, hopefully, but they're not old enough yet. And then because I had planned so much of Friday already, since I already felt like I knew what was coming, I decided to just go ahead and plan out the weekend as well, or whatever space was left in the weekend. I don't usually like use my planner that much on the weekend, and that way I wouldn't have to come back and visit the spread or film one more time. Everything would be all set up, and I could just kind of like tick things off or add to it as needed, and then come back one more time at the end of the week or after the week had actually happened to fill out any of the last weekend stuff. All right, that is everything for this setup and the first week of May all set. So we've got the monthly calendar and then we've got my habit tracker. I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do with that last one, but I did add in a to-do list here. If this starts to fill up, I could use that for something else, but otherwise I may, if something comes up or I think of something, I will add something else in there, but we've just got some other kind of trackers going on. Then I'll save this space. In April, I actually ended up going back through and filling in the rest of the spaces that were blank before, so I can just show you that really quick. But so I just did like a highlights sticker spread there for April, and that's pretty cute. And it was like a really easy way to do just like a little bit of reflection / journaling. It still felt fun since I've like not really been in the mood for journaling lately, so I might keep that up for next month. So we'll see at the end of the month if I want to do that as well. I've got plenty of stickers to work with there. Then of course here is my weekly spread, which we filled out. And then likewise, I will just keep going. So this next coming week, we'll set up in here, and then the week after, etc. And then in the back here, I've got my line a day memory keeper, which I have already started and I will keep going with. And then this one I ended up using in April. I ended up doing this as extra journaling space. So if I feel like doing that in May, otherwise I will just kind of decorate it up. Love having like the little pop of washi and the stickers and stuff. This is a really fun way to use stickers. I have really been enjoying this planner. It also feels super, super functional. So excited to keep going with that in May. And of course, if you want to see more in here, let me know. If you want to see a full flip through after we get through another month, let me know. Always happy to share that with you. Let me know what planner you're currently using down in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. You can also check me out on Instagram and TikTok at My Crafty Plans for even more planner fun. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.